Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Dr. Movie, where I show you a bunch of stuff you possibly have never heard of, and that's just kind of how I roll, because why show you the stuff everybody else talks about? So that's kind of the spirit of this thing, and I tell you what, this is going to be super awesome for me. This has been a long time coming. I've been trying my best to figure out a way to get with this guest somehow, somewhere, and it finally happened. And I'm talking about the one and only Richard Glenn Schmidt from Hello, It's the Doom Show. By the way, if you haven't listened to that podcast, you got to. Because you think, you keep hearing me talking about how much I love the Italian stuff. This guy writes books about the stuff. What's happening, man?
Don't worry, folks. Self-published. Don't be intimidated. You can do this too. No, all I can say right at the top of the hour, folks. Well, at the top of the first hour. I mean, God knows how long we're going to go about this one. But we got Ricky and Dickie starting some shit tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I was Dickie in high school.
Really?
I had many nemesis. I had nemesis. He's like, wait, your name's Richard? People should call you Dickie. And he might as well have said it over the megaphone of the school because it caught like wildfire. So I was Dickie forever. But yeah, it's your... I'm glad to be here, man. This is really... I'm stoked as hell because, yeah, we've been talking about doing something for a while. Long time.
And what better than to talk about some Mario Bava slash Lamberto Bava, really.
Good old Lam Bava, the son.
Yeah. By the way,
not as popular.
As far as the name you were talking about in school, of course, you know, again, with Rick, you get everything, right? You get Ricardo Montalban, you get Slick Rick, you get Rick the Dick, you get...
Rick Springfield. I was in grade school just in time for people to call me Rick Springfield.
See, I got Rick Ocasek. You got the cooler one, actually.
More popular?
More popular.
Yes. Cooler? No. Rik Ocasek. I would have known who that was as a kid. I knew who the Cars were, but Rik Ocasek and the Tumbleweeds would have been blown by what?
Cool, man. So here we go. We're going to talk about from 1977, Shock, or Beyond the Door Part 2, whichever you prefer, Italian Greatness from Mario Bava. And, you know, I'm sure you've got some insight on this that I don't, but you got Daria Nicolodi in this.
Okay.
And, I mean, come on. I mean, she is royalty at this stage. 1977, she's a big name at this point because of all the Argento stuff. This is just the heyday of the movies we love, man.
Yeah, and she was an it girl. She was like this sought-after actress just because she was so hip and so cool, and every movie she does, she's so cool in it. Yeah. And it doesn't hurt at all that she is insanely beautiful in this one. Yeah. And really giving it her all. And I imagine it was for no money.
You're right.
This was good old Mario's second to last movie. Well, this was his last theatrical movie. He did a TV movie called, I'm going to mispronounce this one, called The Venus de Ile. It was a little spooky ghost story based on some literature, and I finally watched that this year. It's so good. It's so good. And she's also that was a couple of years after this. Ravishing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You also got John Steiner in this. I mean, from Tenebrae. I mean, that's what I love about these movies, because it's kind of a revolving door of just using the same people in these movies, and I never get tired of it.
What's even weirder, I do love John Steiner, but what's really weird about this movie is, since it was called Beyond the Door 2, it was the sequel, quote unquote, to Beyond the Door, the notorious one of many notorious Exorcist ripoffs, and the connection between the two is frickin' David. What's his name? Let me get this right here. David Collin Jr., who plays Marco the kid. We'll talk all about Marco. We'll talk all about him. He was in both movies. He's the connection between Beyond the Door and this. And I can't process that because, and they're both Italian productions. But,
right. Well, I hate to tell you, but he's right behind you. So.
What is it like? Yeah, I purposely chose him. Yeah, let's just talk about Marco right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, the movie's about Daria Nicolodi. Her character has remarried. She's very wisely married John Steiner.
Yeah.
And her son, frickin' Marco, he seems happy about it. He likes having a new dad that's an airplane pilot. He thinks it's really cool. But he immediately gets possessed by the ghost of her first husband.
Yeah.
Because they moved into that house. They should not have moved into that house. Big mistake.
Yep. Yeah, it seemed like she was going through a lot of recovery here. You know, she's had some issues. She's a professional concert pianist, I'm kind of gathering. There's a piano in the house, so.
Dude, she could have been a freaking arc welder or some shit. I would have believed it. She's such a capable, strong woman. But yeah, her psychologist is Ivan Razumov, who was in a ton of Giallo movies.
Yeah.
And he played Satan. Speaking of Exorcist ripoffs, he played Satan in the Eerie Midnight Horror Show, which is one of the worst Exorcist ripoffs. I'm throwing a lot of quotes tonight. Ooh. Sorry for the air quotes, folks. if you're triggered by air quotes, they're going to be coming back a lot.
Drinking
but,
game.
You know, every time I've flown up those fingers, take a drink. Take a drink. Quote unquote drink.
A drink.
But Marco, he embodies he becomes the embodiment of his dead father, who still lusts after his alive wife.
Yeah.
And sorry, I just went ahead and did a spoiler there.
That's all right.
He's totally trying to make love to her in one scene, as a kid would understand, where he's just on top of her grunting like. But people throw that Bob from House by the Cemetery thing around.
Yeah.
Where, Bob ruins the movie. Bob's the horror kid in Italian Horror. No.
Yeah.
No. Marco and the kid from, what's that one that's just a nightmare child? Oh, man. Well, the kid from Beyond the Door, which is, again, the same actor.
Yeah. Yep.
He's terrible, and it's the same kid.
Yeah, I think Marco could eat Bob's lunch, man.
Dude, Bob is like one of my favorites because people just shit on him all the time. It's so bad that the actor, all grown up, who played him has shown up on extras like, that wasn't my voice. That was a woman dubbing me. And Marco he just dominates this movie, and I understand it being a deal breaker for folks because it's almost a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, it gets a little heated at times, man, and it's amazing because we have seen this story many times now. I mean, there's The Prodigy, all these other movies that have come out that are exactly this movie, but it still didn't quite do what this movie does.
And that's the thing, like, it's got a lot of Bava, and not just the son. Good old Lamb Bava, as we call him on the Doom Show.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his. He's put out a couple of stinkers.
Yeah.
A lot of people have written him off completely. I definitely don't. He did a movie called The Torturer, which was him taking the whole torture porn thing in the early 2000s seriously and going, I'll make a hit movie. And then he made this disgusting Giallo with lots of torture, like nipples getting ripped off. And I'm like, no, stop. Little Bava Jr., don't do it.
Little Bava Jr.
Oh my God. He did a remake of this called Ghost Son in 2000, maybe 2006. It's not too bad.
That have Dudley Moore in it? I mean, that sounds familiar. It's Ghost Son.
No, it was Ghost Dad with
Ghost Dad.
The Pudding Pops. No, Ghost Son is like he just took a crew out to, I think it was South Africa, and just made this script again.
Wow.
And like, years later. But that it walks that fine line of how much did Papa Bava do versus Papa Bava do.
Papa Bava do.
Papa Baba Duke versus like what Lambava brought to the table. Because if you watch Lambava's first film, Macabre, his directorial one, very similar films.
Yeah.
Very similar. Lots of annoying kids like you want. But no, this has a lot of his dad's style in it. Thank goodness.
Yeah, and you got all this setup. I mean, again, Bava was Daddy Bava, Big Daddy Bava, was really good. I mean, he's the king of atmosphere, right?
Oh,
he really
man.
knows how to take. This house is just a typical kind of 70s looking house, but there's such a sense of dread that he brings to it. He's just.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing, and I know that Lamberto gets a lot of credit for a lot of the shots. I think it's that, like I said, I've got it wrote here. It's like passing the torch, right? He was trying to bring Lamberto in and get him going, but there's still such great atmosphere, and it's things that really even shouldn't be scary, but it kind of makes you go, it's just the way it's put together.
Yeah, real weird. The low budget means limited sets, so you got to make the best use of what you got. And that basement, or cellar, whatever you have, what do we call it? The stairs leading down to it is practically a character.
Yeah.
The shot of her, of Daria Nicolodi in her nightgown, standing at the top of the stairs, backlit, creepy. Yeah. Like, that's a screenshot. That wasn't what I
was going to say, but
I've got something. Wow. It's just so incredible. The weird shit too, like the box cutter. You got the flying box cutter.
The big ceramic hand, that's hidden in the couch.
I hate that hand. Should just smack Marco. Just smacked him right there. Oh my god. And then you have the touches that are just so insane. My favorite is during one of the many hallucinatory moments where she's having a dream about her husband visiting her erotically.
Yeah.
And instead of just having her get all like horny, they strap her to a bed, strap the camera to the bed, and then spin with the POV of the camera. So it's just her hair floating around her head while she's lasciviously licking her lips.
Thinking about it too.
Oh my God, it's so good. What's weird about that scene is our good old homie Michele Soave.
Yeah.
He did a tribute to that scene in a movie he did. I want to say 2012. I cannot think of the name of it. It was a thriller about I think a girl was trying to get away from her drug dealer boyfriend, or she had a drug problem. I forget, but the only scene from it that had no subtitles, it was just slapped onto YouTube years ago, was the main character having this like drugged out dream. They strapped her to the bed, they strapped the camera to it, and then spun. And so her hair was floating in her face. And I'm like, giving tribute to the master. Like, oh my God, I love it.
Well, I brought up the Prodigy earlier, which I thought was a pretty decent little movie for what it was. I already knew what was going to happen because I saw the trailer and I saw what people talk about the most in this movie, which is the popcorn shot, where the kid is in the hallway and he comes running up, and when he gets to the mom, it's still such an incredible shot.
They put that in the trailer, which I am so relieved that they didn't, for shock, that I didn't see the trailer before I saw that. Because, I love Italian horror, folks. Don't get me wrong. But when was the last time I was scared in a jump scare way? I can't even remember. But that one, however many years ago that Blue Underground DVD came out. Yeah. When that scare hits in the hallway, man, lightning shooting through my freaking veins. Like, like, man.
Yeah, so clever. And it's all done. It's just a setup camera shot. And when you see it, I mean, in your mind, you kind of figure out how they did it. But it's just a fact of nobody'd done it before.
Nope.
And that's what he was so great at, was creating these shots that really hadn't been pulled off before. And it was still super low budget. He was just the master of making things happen with what little you got.
Yeah. And that what's really weird about the whole setup, is he was so sick at this point. He was ancient.
Yeah.
And, he'd had a lot of health setbacks, and he'd had a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Career setbacks, because Lisa and the Devil was a big debacle.
Yeah.
He did Lisa and the Devil, and the release for it was paltry. Some people got to see Lisa and the Devil in America, and some people in England got to see it. And then they just said, well, it's not going to make any money. Forget it.
Pull the plug.
Then Exorcist came out, and they said, hey, remember Lisa and the Devil? Could you maybe make that an Exorcist movie? And of all the Italian Exorcist movies, that is the one I hate, because I'm such a huge fan of Lisa and the Devil.
Yeah.
And I just don't.
Yeah. So like he's saying, if you don't know, I mean, they went back and just recut this and entered all these scenes to make it more of an Exorcist movie. And it's obvious that these scenes don't go with the rest of the movie, but which are some interesting scenes. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to give too much away about that, because I may end up talking about it sometime, but you think this movie's got some weird sexual things? Nah.
Lisa and the Devil. Exactly. And then he did Rabid Dogs. He did his crime film that also, I think the producer dropped dead from a heart attack or car accident. So that didn't get finished until 2005 or 2008. And that's the other stinker in Lamberto Bava's career. He tried to follow his dad's notes and shot some scenes to integrate into the original footage. So you've got this movie from 1975-ish with scenes from 2005. And
the only movie that's ever worked on is Grizzly 2.
Oh my God, I need to see that. I've still never seen Grizzly 2.
Trust me, it doesn't work.
Dude, I would have believed you. I'd have fallen believed, all right.
Rabid Dogs is a masterpiece compared to Grizzly 2. Just saying.
Well, that's the thing. Rabid Dogs, as it was, the work print that you can actually watch that doesn't have any of the Lambava tomfoolery, is a solid movie, and you can't tell it's a work print.
Right.
At all. It just looks like a great movie.
Yeah.
Harrowing though it may be. So good old Mario Bava was having a tough time, and this was going to be the big success. I don't know how much money this movie made, but you could just feel you can almost not feel. I mean, you could feel anything you want. You can hear the meetings between him and between Lam Bava and Papa Bava, where he's like, Dad, get this cool progressive rock band. They're called Goblin. Of course, Goblin's busy doing Suspiria right now, but we can get the drummer and the guitarist maybe, and we'll use the rest of their sister band called Libra.
Yeah.
And so this soundtrack for this quiet little weird movie is this bombastic Suspiria. Freaking lots of percussion, and I think it's a mellotron. Yeah, one of my favorite instruments on the planet, because they've got that voice where it's all those. It's like a choral singers and strings mashed together, and it sounds really inhuman, which has got to be a mellotron.
Right. I mean, cool. That's the first thing, going back and revisiting this, and when the music kicked in, I was like, "Crap! I forgot about this music, man!" And it's actually really killer.
God, it's so good. It just blows the doors off of this little frickin', movie they made for 500 lira. So cool.
So you got all these things happening in this movie where obviously Daria Nicolodi's character has had this trauma in the past where her dead husband has died.
Yep.
And she's dealing with the past. So she's being haunted by this ghost, if you want to kind of look at it that way. But like you said, then the son starts doing all these weird, creepy things where he's talking to people that are not there and swinging things in swings and there's nothing there, or the swing swinging by itself and he's just watching it and just randomly walking up to his mom and say, "Mom, I have to kill you."
Yes. Yes. And then he has like supernatural powers. So John Steiner's flying a plane. And he takes a little toy plane and puts it on the swing and starts swinging it. And then you cut to John Steiner and his co-pilot like, "This plane's going down."
How do you make it stop? People
So
slapping
good.
all around in the plane, flopping around. It's like, you expect to see James T. Kirk in there,
Oh my God. That might have been the same plane that Lisa was on at the end of Lisa and the Devil. She was like, "TWA, you suck." Oh God, I love it.
But yeah, I mean, and Bruno's trying his best to hold all this together because he's got a nutcase wife. He's got a little creepy son that is okay from time to time. And I really like how they try to pass it off as a good, wholesome, everyday family at the beginning of it. And it just gets crazier and crazier as it goes along. And she's starting to see things that aren't there. She's almost being killed by storm windows dropping down and almost chopping her head off. And storm windows, apparently in Italy, is totally different than storm windows here.
Made of freaking adamantium or something. Like, that thing comes down. I was waiting for the cinder block under it to crack.
Exactly.
It was like terrifying.
And the thing is it implies so many things, but you're still not sure because, Marco is looking over at the strap that's holding that thing, and he's just looking at it, and you see it busting apart. So you're like, well, is he just watching it and he's going to let it happen, or is he making it happen?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And then you got the whole ending is so amazing. When it all gets revealed, what happened.
Yeah.
The wall. She has a vision of the wall in the cellar bleeding. You have this like what looks like freshly laid bricks and mortar down in the basement. So you're getting that freaking Edgar Allan Poe vibe from it too, and just everything culminates in not like Tenebrae levels of bloodbath or anything, because I just immediately think of John Steiner.
Sure.
In that movie, but the blood when it finally hits, it's like that weird ass, not human blood that you get in the 70s movies, just pouring out of the characters, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, the fact of all this is happening, and the protective husband, you've got, her psychologist that's coming into the picture from time to time to check on her. She even takes Marco to him, and he's drawing pictures. Here's me and Mom with a post hole digger through her head. And I mean, it's just like, oh, well, the kid's fine. You're the problem. I'm like, what?
Clearly.
I mean, he's got pictures of him getting out of bed with you and turning his back to you.
Oh man.
It just means he wants attention. I'm like, what?
This guy's been a child psychologist for 4 months. Well, they call me the rookie around here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So all this stuff is building up, and it really does a good job of keeping you questioning what you're watching.
Yeah.
And when you get towards the end, I don't know if we're there yet or not. What other things have we not talked about before we get to the ending?
Well, we talked about the flying box cutter.
Yeah, which is just, she goes down in the basement, and it's almost like 3D. If this movie was made for 3D, this would definitely be the scene, right? Because it's the box cutter, and it's just coming at her going, whoosh, 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 whoosh.
You know what? We didn't talk about the rotting corpse of her husband hanging out. So
yeah,
she has all these visions of his hands. His hands are really nasty. They're always creeping. She trips over a rake in the yard, and it flips around and stabs her in the foot. When she looks down at it, it's not the rake, it's her husband's fingernail digging into her leg. He looks like one of those half-assed hippies who was like, kind of like when the Beatles were like, oh, we should grow our hair out, and the first year of that were just terrible.
Right.
He's got this disgusting blonde mustache, which I can relate to because my mustache kind of disappearing right now in his slight. But yeah, his visions of him, and one of the things Mario was known for, I think he used this in every movie, was he had this piece of warped glass that he would wave in front of the camera while he was filming stuff. And so every time we see her deceased husband, he's always all warped and strange and not quite there.
It's like, hey, honey, I just came back from being on tour with the Allman Brothers and thought I'd come back and haunt your ass for a while.
I was a roadie for Graham Parsons for 6 months. Ruined my marriage. Now I got the dope in my arm. Oh, yeah, of course, the drug paraphernalia is lovingly captured because, of course, her ex had a little bit of a drug problem.
Just a little. So much so, just so much that he was starting to give it to her too, right? So
he loved her that much.
Yeah,
Mickey.
yeah.
That's love.
That's when you want to share every experience together.
Yes. Honey, is this pastrami off? You try it.
Try this black tar heroin.
The kick for you, like really nice. I don't know drugs. I don't know.
Do you see the dragon?
No, my drug experience is when Simon and I did the Idle Hands episode, and I Googled nicknames for marijuana and slang for pot, and we had a very lengthy discussion about purple sticky punch and ancient thunder lettuce and sitting on Pete's crotch. That was my favorite slang for smoking weed. I'm never going to not bring that up. I'm sorry to anyone named Pete who might be listening.
See, well, I'm kind of in the same category, but I'm even a little further. It's like right now, I'm assuming you're having a nice little lager there, a nice beer. I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life.
Oh, this is water.
Is it water?
So I'm wasted.
All right. Extra buzz for you.
That's right. Hey, Henry Miller, he had a whole paragraph in one of his books about getting drunk on water. So
wow.
I think maybe he was poisoning his body by drinking too much water. But
well, my point is I think you're even more educated on drugs than I am.
Wow, I got a degree.
Yeah, I mean, the heaviest thing I've ever had was Vicks Formula 44D back in the day,
Ooh.
That stuff would mess you up.
Man, I had that for lunch today.
Oh, so you got Daria Nicolodi getting injected by one of the Allman Brothers, and she snaps, and for the longest time, the story is that he overdosed. You think? But as the story goes along, we're finding out more and more information of, he didn't want to come back and haunt her because he needed another fix. He wanted to come back and haunt her because of what really happened.
Right.
And so what really happened was that old box cutter came out, and I don't know if she was chasing the dragon or what, but she ended up killing the dude.
Yep.
And then her boyfriend at the time, or her friend at the time, comes over and finds him, and he's the one that throws him in the wall, bricks it up, which is funny to me because how can you sell the fact that he committed suicide and all this stuff when there's no body, right?
Yeah, it's so weird. The whole thing was he wanted them to live in the house just because he still needed to dig the body out from behind the wall.
Right.
So she didn't even remember that she'd killed him.
Right.
So she hears something in the basement, and he's down there with a pickaxe. Very unfortunately, he should not have picked that. He's down there with a pickaxe, digging a hole in the wall to get his body. And that didn't smell good.
Right.
But he foolishly reveals to her what he's doing, and she goes wide-eyed, apeshit crazy.
Yeah.
And an unattended pickaxe, she takes it and just plants it in his chest. And that is like, man, that's just When does John Steiner not get murdered in a movie?
He has the worst luck, man.
And then of course the haunting gets worse. The poltergeist activity gets worse. Where there's this giant armoire. This giant dresser is like coming after her like a freaking a Dalek or something.
Exorcist.
Oh my God! Yes, that's right. Beyond the Door 2.
There you go.
So she finally succumbs to this the will of her dead ex and decides to join him by slashing her own throat. And it's not like a convincing effect, but it's just after everything you've been through, you're kind of like, oh
yeah,
no, not Daria.
And the way that it's set up too is, you think it's actually the ghost hand at first coming at her with the knife, coming up to her. Then you just see a shot from here up. You see the hand go to her neck, and then when it backs away, you can tell it's her own hand.
So good.
It's pretty clever, man. Very clever.
I love it.
And what we didn't talk about, how about Marco's Robert Smith doll?
Oh, my God.
That thing, man.
Is that the one? Yeah, he rips the vocal, the talking.
Yeah,
but it's a slinky.
It's a slinky.
So they have the slinky going down the stairs, going.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no shortage of weird, inexplicable shit from all Italian horror. There was not. I don't think there's a single Italian horror movie that doesn't have something totally batshit crazy in it that you can't explain.
Yeah, that's exactly why I started this show. I started this whole series, this whole show off with contamination, right? Because of the exact same reason. We got aliens and we got eggs, but we don't have aliens coming out of eggs. We just get, egg juice on you. People exploding. I mean, and that's what I love about the Italian cinema, man, because even if you don't care for the movie, you're going to see something in it that you don't see anywhere else.
Yep. That is one of the first Italian horror films I ever saw was Dario Argento's Phenomena.
Oh, God.
I saw it as I saw it as Creepers in around 1988, 1989 when I was a kid. And that'll stick with you. You don't forget that one.
Man.
And then when I got really into Italian horror, one of the first ones I ever bought was The Beyond.
Oh, yeah.
Which has like everything like what are you doing in here? I'm looking for keys. Like I just you get the whole sequence in The Beyond where the dog is running out the door after the blind woman. The blind woman she takes off and runs without her seeing eye dog. Dog trails behind her, his big balls swinging in slow motion. And I'm like, yep, they were trying to breed that dog. And I'm glad that I'm getting to watch this. And now in HD.
Fulci's a whole different world, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially with Down and Out Fulci when, like, Enigma, where shit got even weirder.
We just covered that. I covered that with Court Psyops just a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Insane. Insane, man.
But one thing about this movie is there is a copy that they sourced from the old DVD on Shudder right now. So if anybody uses Shudder, you can watch Shock.
Yeah.
It doesn't look great. But the Blu-ray has been announced.
Awesome.
This movie is finally getting a Blu-ray because I'm trying not to upgrade everything I have because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But my eyes are getting old, so I appreciate the Blu-rays now more than ever. And
Blu-rays I'm okay with, but here's what blows my mind. And I just showed this to my wife earlier today. I was scrolling through Facebook, and they're bringing out a 4K version of Alligator. And I'm like, is that really necessary? I mean, I love the movie, but I don't know that I need a 4K version of Alligator. I put my foot down. I was very late to the game with Blu-ray. I was like, no, this is bullshit. And then my buddy Brad over at the Doom Show was like, you need to see Halloween and Halloween 2 on Blu-ray. And I was like, whatever, dude. Yeah. And so I'm sitting there staring at the leaves
all the scenes in the daytime before Michael Myers even gets cooking.
Yeah.
When Jamie's just running around with her buds, and I'm like, oh, this is Blu-ray. I thought they just tinged everything blue. But 4K, I'm like, yeah, financially. I returned the first 4K TV. I returned it because I couldn't find the way to turn off. I've turned off motion smoothing.
Oh, man.
So everything looked normal.
Yeah.
But then I put in a DVD.
Yeah.
And I was watching a DVD of, I know you like this one. I'm pretty sure you like this one. Time Bandits.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I was assuming you're a Time Bandits guy. I'm watching Time Bandits, and it looks like it's on fast forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because DVD
and all
wasn't translating.
Yeah. And it just jerking you around. It's just like,
Next day, brought it back, $50 less. I got a plain old HD TV, put on the same movie. I was like, oh, thank God, this looks normal. And I love that TV, but I'm like, 4K, if I didn't still have, 700 DVDs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and just the fact of, Excalibur, Star Wars, big epic movies, I understand.
Totally. Yeah.
But Alligator?
Oh, I got Ticks. My pal sent me Ticks to review for EurocultAV.com. That's a plug.
There you go.
He sent me Ticks, and I got my heart sank because it said 4K on it. And I was like, oh, shit. Opened up the case, and I was like, oh, thank God there's a Blu-ray in here. So I just when I wrote my review, I'm like, folks, don't got the 4K. Sorry. Just me review. I mean, I appreciate the 4K scans of these films, but that's great. Any restoration work people are doing that isn't invasive is great. But look, listen to me, old man here, like getting my walker on my hover round to talk about how I hate 4K. Get that out of here.
Me and my hover round, we got a real good thing. Yeah. So, I forgot to even mention, kicking this thing off. I mean, you're a musician. I'm a musician. That's another thing that we got a big bond up, man. Gyro Jets, man.
Oh man, that's my band. We are mixing our next EP. We're actually mixing. Pardon, my nose itches like crazy.
It's all right. It's the cocaine.
Man. I switched from the black tar heroin to cocaine for this discussion. I wanted to be just professional, bring the energy. No, we have a new EP coming out. It's called No Nukes. We thought it would be a real, like a softball game. Like, what's the political statement that will not offend anyone except nuclear bomb enthusiasts? So we're talking shit about nuclear bombs, and there's a line in it where a drummer who sings. Do you know any drummers who sing? Do you know any drum? This guy right here. There's a line in the song where he goes, "Got your finger on the button or up your butt, man." And right when he says up your butt, I go, ugh! So we might actually cause nuclear war, but
that's
we're
what
going
you
to try
call
to stop it.
Class.
Yeah, something erotic. Yeah, no, we're real excited. It's taken forever. We finally got a bass player, and my buddy Sam and I, it's just the drummer and me on guitar and singing. And we are so slow. So what's the worst thing we could do to just bring our productivity to a complete halt? Bring in the third person.
That's right. Another person to go, I can't do it today. I'm sorry, I'm busy.
Right? I got a kid, and we're like, ew. No, all my bass player friends are like, oh, bass players just slow the band down. I'm like, it's not the bass. It's us. We're just, we've been together for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And we have the material of a band that's been together for 5 months. Like, it's taken us forever to do anything, but I'm excited.
But when inspiration hits, we've got another song. We're up to 7.
Exactly. we wrote this part. We're going to play this part 4 times. And then we start rehearsing it, and we're like, whoa, let's play it 3 times. And then we're arguing over whether we played it 4 or 3. And it's here just real quick. I've never learned anyone else's songs but what I've written.
Wow.
In my life. I've been playing guitar for 20 years, and I'm so self-taught and so broken that my buddy's like, dude, let's do a Ramones song. I'm like, dude, yeah. So I'm watching Ramones song, like guitar playthroughs on YouTube and going,
what's he doing?
How do you do that? It's 2 chords, maybe 3 if you're a fancy Ramones song.
Right.
And I don't understand it because you can't separate the guitar from the Ramones without Joey, because everything is Joey.
Right, it's true.
All the lyrics, and then the songs are there to propel those lyrics, and they're listening to his maybe, and I'm like, no wonder I've never learned a song that someone else wrote. And I'll write songs that are way more complicated. They're so stupid, but they're way more complicated. But to this day, I can't play Happy Birthday on a guitar. I can't play Smoke on the Water. I played Smoke on the Water by accident one time. And then my friend's like, dude, that was funny. Do it again. And I'm like,
I can't.
I'm just all those guitar lessons. I took bass lessons, guitar lessons, trumpet, trombone. About the only thing I didn't get lessons on was drums. Forgotten everything.
So,
nothing.
Are you a Garth Marenghi fan? Have you watched Dark Place?
I love Dark Place. Is one of my all-time favorites.
Your statement just while ago just was such a Garth Marenghi. I'm probably the only author that's written more books than he's read. You know.
Oh man, when you read my books, you'd think I was doing that. Like you'd think that was how I do it. I've read a lot of books, unfortunately. They just don't translate to my stuff.
All right, so we just totally abandoned the movie, but that's okay.
I thought that's what we were supposed to do.
Yeah, that's part of the plan. It's all coming together.
Boom.
So
boom. Oh, also, this is IMDb likes to play tricks on y'all Giallo fans out there. This now has the tag Shock has the tag Giallo on it on IMDb, which opens up a whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I am really liberal with those Giallo definitions, but even I'm like,
yeah,
there's so much J&B in this movie. That's the other thing all these Italian movies got in common is they have J&B Scotch whiskey.
Absolutely.
I had someone defend that stuff to me.
Now, if an investigator would have came in the house with a sandwich in his hand, then okay, it can be a Giallo, but we're not there.
Are there 3 hookers warming their hands by a fire? It's not a Giallo if you don't got that. Is there a horrendous gay stereotype character that, kind of prances on the screen? And you're like, Italy, you guys are funny.
Oh man.
No, this has a case of J&B in it. They were trying to prove something.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about this one, man? I mean, this is one of my first Italian horror movies when I literally knew I was watching Italian horror, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd seen Gates of Hell and all these other ones, not knowing what they were, right, at a young age on VHS. This one I literally went after because I'd been educated on the Argento stuff. So this was early on in my Italian run of films. And I still love it, man.
Yeah. This doesn't crack my top 10 or anything.
Yeah.
But when it's the right time, for this movie, it hits so hard, especially with that weird color palette that it has and that claustrophobic set and the unending creepy weird shit reverberating off that kid.
Yeah.
And then it all just comes together so nicely at the end. Yeah, I adore this one.
Awesome. Hey, pretty much every movie you mentioned earlier, Phenomena, The Beyond, all of those are open if you want to come back and talk about some of those. So
I'm totally down. You know, I'm diggity down with that.
Yeah, we'll get us a game plan together for those.
This is just the piece of the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg for Ricky and Dickie Start Some Shit.
That's right.
I guess just start another show called that. We'll be good.
Hey, I'm infamous for starting shows and doing 3 episodes and stopping, so maybe we can do that.
Yeah, your pastry review show. I'm still waiting for episode 4.
Crepes.
Ricky takes
Night of the Crepes.
I was going to say Ricky takes a bite, but no, Night of the Crepes. That's it. That's why you're the idea guy.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's like George Carlin said, I got a lot of ideas. Problem is most of them suck. Hey, man, take the time. Tell everybody where they can find everything. I mean, obviously, you and I are Legion podcast bros.
Yes.
But tell them everything you got going on, where they can find everything. I'm turning you loose.
All right. Oh, thank you. Hello, this is the Doomed Show, is the show on the old Legion podcast. I've got over at doomedmoviethon.com. You can check out the archives. We've also been doing this show forever, so not prolific enough, but we started this back in 2011. Brad and I were like listening to what would become our sister show, Nashi Cast.
Yeah.
And we were good friends with them, or we told people we were good friends with them. And then we started our own show, and it's just been going forever. And then I had my buddies join, Jeffrey and Simon joined up. Mm-hmm. And so we've got, by accident, because most people from other countries don't return my calls, but Simon is actually a real British person who will record with me at bizarre times so we can have some discussions of films like Shock. We did a great episode on The Church.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Michele Soave, oh, my God, that guy.
Yeah.
The line, "Don't keep me waiting on those onions, Herman," came from, which I immediately added to our theme music at the beginning.
Right.
I love that line. I also do a YouTube channel. It's Doomed Moviethon at YouTube. I've been trying to do bi-monthly. I love neglecting my YouTube channel as much as possible. I've written some books about cinema. I've written a book called Giallo Meltdown, a Moviethon diary, where I watch way too many movies in a row. I don't do it smart and watch a couple movies a night. I like to schedule these grueling movie-thons, which the older I get, the shorter they get. So now it's 13 movies between Friday night and Sunday evening. Whereas back in the day, one time I did 18 Lucio Fulci films in 48 hours. So 9 movies Saturday and 9 movies Sunday. God. And it ended with me doing shots of J&B. My TV broke in the middle of it, so we had to get the tiny TV out. So I'm watching House by the Cemetery, scribbling notes on a notepad in the dark while doing shots of J&B. It was crazy.
I mean, after a while, those movies have to start running together, right?
I mean, I don't know how it's any of it's lit.
Why is Fulci dressed like Elmer Fudd? I don't know.
I just... and watching all these movies in a row is like something I would do anyway, but to sit there and then take cohesive notes or write entire chapter. I wrote just 2 weeks ago, I did, I started doing Giallo Meltdown 2, the second volume of the books, and I did 13 movies, and I started on Friday night, like I always do, with my wife's netbook, just click-clacking away while watching the movies, wrapped it up on Sunday, edited it on Monday, and then had it ready to put out by the following Monday. So like a week and a half I did. And I'm going back and reading it now like, I should have worked on that. But yeah, Giallo Meltdown, a Moviethon diary, and Doomed Moviethon. Those are both my Moviethon books where I destroy my brain. And one day I watched, one weekend, I watched nothing but Elvis movies.
Wow.
My wife and I, we picked what's that phrase? Our eyes were bigger than our heads
yes.
or something. We picked 25 Elvis movies to watch, and I had the worst sinus headache I've ever had in my life. So we only did 17. Because I'm one of those weirdos who's like, oh, Elvis music, yeah, that's good. But Elvis movies.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of movies that all run together.
Yeah. It's the same thing over and over.
Wow. I can tell you the bad ones, like, easily. Harem Scarum. Aside from all the horrific racial stereotypes in that one. He also has terrible pants. They gave him these, like, Sultan pants or something. It's horrendous. But then the other book I have called Cinema Somnambulist is, it's hard to pronounce, and that is my blog. I worked on the Cinema Somnambulist blog for years and years, and I just took all those posts, mostly nostalgic stuff, like the being too scared to rent. What was the one? What was the? It's coming back to me. It's the Blood Feast director. He did the one about the painter who was using blood to paint. It's in the Blood trilogy. Folks, you know what I'm talking about. It's got the picture on the cover where the guy has his little paintbrush and this woman is eviscerated hanging from the frickin' wall, and he's using her blood to paint his masterpiece. And the video store I went to at that time was called Video Extron. It was a very small chain in Florida, and they stunk. Like, they had the weirdest smell in the store. That smell plus that eviscerated woman was making me nauseous. I almost threw up. I didn't throw up.
Wow.
Would have been a better story. I've still never Color Me Blood Red.
Okay.
Boom. Still never watched it to this day. That movie scared me so bad. So there's actually a little entry in the book about how I've still never seen that.
Wow.
So yeah, those three are all on Amazon.com. And the last thing we talked about, Gyrojets. And I have a YouTube channel that's all about me goofing off with guitar pedals, which is how I got into music, was because I like gadgets and stuff.
Yeah.
That's called The Slow Wizard. My friend nicknamed, that was my rap name for a while. My friend named me after the villain in the video game that Tom Hanks, as a little boy, the kid character, plays in Big. He's like, defeat the slow wizard.
That's awesome.
Or my friend was saying I was mentally challenged. But either way, it all balances out. But dude, I just want to say I really appreciate you having me on. This was a great time.
It's fantastic.
And thanks for letting me do the promo dump of all my crap.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, again, I want to have people on here, and I want them to go and see what real good shows are like. You know?
Check these guys out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a launch pad, right? So, yeah, man, anytime I can find somebody that loves these movies like I do, this is just a win-win situation. So, I appreciate you coming on, buddy. We'll do it again.
My thumb is disappearing in the thing, but
it's
yes.
Marco. Marco bit it off.
Oh my God, I got Marco.
Richard, I'm going to have to kill you now.
Please do me a favor, Marco. Jeez.
All right, man. Again, appreciate you coming on.
Hell yeah.
Folks, we will check you later. Adios.